Alright guys, here we go. We are in Unit 2.5, because it's not 2 and it's not 3. It's kind of halfway in the middle. Lecture number 2, we're going back in time a little bit to something you learned about last year. So this is going over the rights of English people and how the people of England got rights from a bad guy named King John. And basically, looking at the colonists who are English people, they still have those same rights. So we're going to kind of go back in time one more time. And we have, in this case, the colonists are expecting the same rights as the English people, like it says at the top. They are English, even though they are living 3,000 miles away from their king. They are still English. So no matter what, they have to follow those rules. Going back in time to 1215 AD, there's the Magna Carta. And the Magna Carta translates in Latin to Great Charter. And this is a document, much like our Constitution that sets up constitutional things or sets up governmental things. This document limits the power of this king right there, King John. If you look, he is super happy to be signing that. And if he doesn't sign it, he will, of course, be killed. But this is a limit of the power that the king has. It set up the following 3 limitations. It set up that the Englishmen could not have their property seized by the king, that the king couldn't just take their land because he's king. You just could not do that. You couldn't seize the land by whatever means necessary. Also, English people could not be taxed unless a council agrees. So basically, again, the king could not put out any types of taxes to make any kind of money. So the king couldn't make random taxes for you because he didn't like you. He had to actually have a council of people agree to that tax, that tax would help the government. And finally, number 3, that you could not be put on trial based on just an official's word, that you had to have witnesses witness something that happened or a crime you committed, and you could only be punished if a jury of your peers acquitted you, or if a jury of your peers agreed that you are guilty. That is exactly the way our system is set up, or our system of punishment and crimes. Our system is modeled after that one, that no one can just accuse you of a wrongdoing. You are innocent until you are proven guilty. And that's the way this works here, that somebody couldn't just say, oh, okay, you broke the law, you did this, and you're guilty. You have to go on trial, you have to have a group of people listen to the sides or the arguments, and then they decide whether or not, of course, you get in trouble. All right, moving on to the next slide. We have this pretty building, which is called Parliament. And Parliament is England's main lawmaking body. So this is the building where the people of England meet, or the lawmakers meet. It is a representative form of government. We model our government, or our Congress, the 2 houses, after their parliament. So America cheats and kind of copies this system, even though in a way it does very much work for them, and it works for us here in America today, except for right now. It's made up of 2 houses, the House of Commons and the House of Nobles. Now, nobles are people that are rich and friends with the king and have some sort of influence on that. The House of Commons are just commoners who are representing the normal people of England. Our system, our government, or our 2 houses are set up with representatives of the states. We have the Senate and the House of Representatives again. If you look, colonists, like it says in number 1, colonists are mad, colonists are mad that no one from the American colonies are represented in that building. There's no members of Pennsylvania or Delaware or anywhere you could think of, any of the 13 colonies, that represent America here in the Parliament. So Americans are mad that laws that are being made 3,000 miles away that do affect them, or taxes that are being created, they have to pay these taxes, but yet they have no say in government at all. And of course, as Americans, we won't like that either. We wouldn't like that today if our government didn't take into account what we wanted as people. So Americans back then are upset that the government of England is making decisions based on whatever they want in England and not taking into account what the people of America want. So one of the things they do, like it says there, is they form their own version, or they form their own representative bodies, like the Virginia House of Burgesses, or in Pennsylvania they have a General Assembly where adult free men who owned land could do the voting. All right, number 2, again, with all these sort of problems taking place, the king is starting to appoint royal governors, meaning governors of each colony that are friends with the king and agree with the king, to rule over the colonies with his direct commands, meaning the king is telling the governor, here's what you need to do. Parliament doesn't have elected representatives for the colonies. They're upset with that. The colonies are, or the colonists are, but they are passing laws that affect them. And now they have a governor that agrees with the king at all times and doesn't look at what's best for the colonies. The governor's looking at what's best for him and what's best for the king. All right, moving on. We have the political changes or turmoil back in England. Over in England, when problems arise or when problems take place, that kind of carries over here to America, whether it's fighting or things going on with the church or just people being upset. All those things carry over to here in the colonies. And if you look back, there are problems that happen in England where almost the colonies are forgotten about to try to fix up what's going wrong at home or in England and kind of let the colonists do their own thing, become independent, but we'll get back to them. So if you look, you have King Charles II for number one, replacing a charter or laws with a royal charter. So again, the king is kind of trying to keep his power over Parliament. You have another king, King James II, who takes away colonial rights here in the colonies and replaces the Puritan church, again, giving up that idea of freedom of religion, and he tries to put a bunch of colonies together, New York, New Jersey, and New England colonies, all to one big colony. But the people of the colonies do not want this to happen and actually try to fight against that from happening. They argue with their local governments or colonial governments as opposed to the one in England. The last big thing up here is William and Mary. Parliament replaces King James with his daughter Mary. King James actually gets kicked out and gets beheaded. The daughter, Queen Mary, comes in, and then her husband agree that instead of keeping the people of England fighting amongst themselves or fighting with the colonists, that they are going to bring the people of England, all the English people, together, and they have something called the Glorious Revolution, which is, without any violence, the power from one king to another or one king to his queen transfers over. And Queen Mary goes on to restore the English Bill of Rights, which gives the people of England those basic rights again, and restore the elected assemblies in the colonies as well as back in England. So the people of the colonies did like William and Mary, but again, like anything else, when kings and queens die, new kings and queens show up. All right, after the Glorious Revolution, you have this diagram, I think in the textbook somewhere, but if not, I've copied it out for you. Basically, at the top, you have the British king or queen. Underneath that royalty, you have the royal governor that's appointed by the king, and he follows the orders of the king. If at any time the royal governor is not doing his job, he'll be replaced by the king. So he has to follow orders from the king, and the people suffer consequences because of that. So if you look on the bottom, you have colonial assemblies. Those are the elected officials of the assemblies. The colonists elect their people. They have some authority, but not much, as long as the governor says they have some or not. And then you have a council, which are the people or rich people, almost like aristocrats from last year, who are friends with the governor, who again tie back to this gentleman up here. During the first half of the 1700s, England as a mother country actually has an area or a time period where they kind of forget about the colonies. The colonies are providing them with wealth and money, so they don't really need to keep sending tons of taxes, tons of acts, tons of laws, and the colonies kind of grow up on their own. It's the same idea that if your parents were to just move away or take an extended vacation for, say, 2 or 3 months, letting you and your sisters or brothers rule the house, you guys would become independent on your own. Now, for the first couple weeks, it'd be crazy. There'd probably be parties and fireworks and fires and just crazy things happening at your house. But over a few months, once bills started to have to get paid and everything else, you and your family or your siblings would have to step up and actually make sure that you keep your house, you pay the bills and everything else. That's throwing a lot on you, but you would learn to grow up pretty fast if your parents weren't there to do the work for you. And that's what happens to the colonies. The king kind of forgets about them for a while. There are still laws and taxes they have to pay, but the colonists learn to grow up on their own. And they do have, again, back to these colonial assemblies. They have the assemblies working for them, representing them in the colonies, making decisions for what's best for the 13 colonies. So, like it says number 1 down here, is that Parliament's passing laws on trade, money, and everything else you could think about. The governors in the colonies, though, rarely enforce these laws. So once these royal governors start being replaced with newly elected governors by the people, the governors don't want to push these laws down. They feel that they are unfair, and sometimes those governors are replaced by royal ones. Sometimes they're not. But because the colonies have these laws to follow, and if they're not, it looks bad. It's bad to have laws if there's no enforcement of them. So imagine America if We do have all these laws, but imagine a world where if you didn't enforce the laws, say you're driving down the street and you see another person hit somebody else with their car, and the police just say, oh, you know what, that's their fault for being in the way, and you've committed no crime. The world would be like Grand Theft Auto, which sounds really good, but it would be horrible on paper. And that's what's happening here, is that the royal king is looking at as being kind of like a figurehead, a guy that has no power if he can't enforce his laws in the colonies. Okay, don't forget, if you've watched this and you still don't understand things, make sure to ask your teacher. I know that's a new concept, but please make sure to ask me if you can, because I am here to help. I hope you enjoyed the lesson and enjoyed tonight.